Over on the AEW side, on Dynamite Wednesday, Darby Allin successfully defended his AEW World title again, this time against the TNT champion Kevin Knight. This after successful defenses against Tommaso Ciampa and Brody King. And then again over Pac last night on Collision, which I have to say, I went back and I watched it after Backlash last night. It was a live 1 hour special from a very unique location. It was only an hour, because the other hour of Collision came after Dynamite on Wednesday. They did a 3-hour block. So I guess they didn't want to do a 4-hour block, so they saved the other hour for last night. And they held it at the SoFi Center in West Palm Beach, Florida, which is an indoor golf course. Hence the Fairway to Hell name for the show last night. The place has an indoor arena, small arena, but it also has an indoor golf simulator. So they had a ring set up. But behind it was this wide open area with nothing but greens and a sand trap in the middle, which Darby Allin and Pac fought in during their match. I fucking love this. We need more of this. We need more unique, wacky wrestling venues. Mall of America for the first Nitro, those old spring break shows from Club La Vila with the pool next to the ring. The old Shotgun Saturday night shows that Vince used to do from Penn Station and Webster Hall. I love shit like that. This was one of the more unique venues for a wrestling show that I've ever seen. Tony Khan has said that he wants to make this an annual event, but he wants to add a charity golf tournament during the day that he would call Fairway to Heaven. And then he would do Fairway to Hell would be the wrestling show in the evening. And he claims he's had talks with the PGA about collaborating with them. I think it's a great concept. I had a couple of people tweet me who went to the show. One guy paid $100 for his seat. He had a blast. Somebody else paid $30 and had fun. I'd have more fun for $30 too if I spent $30 over $100. But I mean, $30, you can't beat that. But Darby Allin beat Pac last night after being tossed off a balcony 15 feet down through a bunch of tables. And then Pac rushed down, he airlifted him back to the ring, and then Darby still kicked out. It's all very absurd, but it's all very on brand for a Darby Allin match. I will say this, he has been having some fun matches during this run, but they are shotgunning these matches so quickly, it's plain as day, because he is dropping the belt back to MJF before we even get to the month of June. Now, he was supposed to defend the title this Wednesday against Kazuchika Okada. That is not happening. Don Callis last night said that Okada got called back to Japan on some personal business. I don't believe him. So taking his place will be Konosuke Takeshita, who he said, now Takeshita was there and he said, I'm still going to beat Okada at Double or Nothing for the international title, but now I will also be the AEW World Champion. And then he looked into the camera, he goes, unlike Okada. So I can't wait to see Okada show up on Wednesday and cost him the title now, and then flip him off and call him a bitch, to add even more heat to their match. Maybe there is something going on with Okada. Hopefully not. This felt like an angle to me, but then the more I think about it, it's like Okada got himself a world championship match, so why would he voluntarily back out of it? Hopefully everything is okay, but I'm still expecting him to show up and fuck Takeshita over at the end of that match. Darby did tell MJF this week that they are going to have a contract signing this week for Double or Nothing. He is willing to give him the rematch he wants, should Max choose to accept his stipulation for said rematch, which is that if MJF has to put something on the line, it will have to be his hair. Darby's been saying that MJF needs to put something on the line if he wants that rematch. He doesn't want a scarf. He doesn't want the Dynamite Diamond ring. He doesn't want $1 million that MJF offered to put up. He wants his hair. And I rolled my eyes at this because it's like, all right, whatever. They've been building this stipulation up for weeks here. But it's not like they weren't going to do this match, right? They were always going to be running this back at the next pay-per-view. But now Darby is playing off of MJF's vanity. They talk about his trips to Turkey for his hair transplant all the time on TV. Hangman made fun of him for it. Multiple people talk about it. Now they're incorporating it into the story here by saying, if you want this rematch, this is what you need to do. And then if Darby wins, he's going to shave this man bald. And he's going to take away something that very clearly is important to him. If he's going to fly halfway around the world and spend thousands of dollars on it, then it must mean something to him. So that's why we're getting title versus hair. at Double or Nothing. And it's not like we haven't seen hair stipulations in wrestling before, so whatever, it's fine. Mark Davis wrestled Jack Perry on this show. And Mark Davis, I was very happy to hear this. I had people tell me in the live chat when I was talking about Backlash last night. They go, Mark Davis is a champion. I go, what? Now, he was already 1/3 of the Trios champions for like a week, but who gives a shit about the Trios belts? Mark Davis, Dunkzilla, is the new AEW national champion. He beat Jack Perry for the belt with an assist from Ricochet, who showed up looking like fucking Kerwin White. He shows up with a golf club. He hits Jack Perry in the back with it. Referee didn't see it. And then Davis hits a pile driver and he pins him to win the belt. And I, for one, am very happy for Mark Davis. I'm a fan of Mark Davis. I thought that, him and Jake Doyle, Jack Perry, Jake Doyle, Jack Doyle. It's all the same shit. But when Jake Doyle went down with that injury back in January, I said, well, this sucks for Mark Davis because he's on the back burner now. And Tony Khan has given him consistent television time. Again, he's a brawler. He goes out there. He's, the big guy type who goes out there and just brawls with people. He's not out there doing a lot of technical stuff. But I enjoy his matches, even though he fucking loses all the time. I generally enjoy the matches that he's in. And I was happy to see that Tony didn't just kind of put him, back in catering and let him sit back there and wait for an opportunity. He's putting him on the shows consistently. He is actually one of the more focused, I would say, members of the Callis family, especially now that Kyle Fletcher is out. He gets more screen time than most. And to see him, hold a championship, of which they have many in this company. I don't know how long of a run he's going to have, and the national title hasn't really been established as anything terribly significant, but I'm happy for him. I was very, very surprised, but also in a pleasant way to see him win that championship last night, so that was good. Now, Jack Perry, after being screwed by Ricochet in his title match, has now recruited Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks to join him, and I would presume the Hurt Syndicate, and Chris Jericho against Ricochet and the Gates of Agony at Double or Nothing in what Ricochet had said was going to be a Stadium Stampede match. All of a sudden, this match has ballooned into something much larger than I thought it was going to be. Ricochet had a conversation last night with Don Callis where Callis agreed to give him Mark Davis, and then they were going to go off and discuss other potential Callis family members who would join in. This fucking match has all of a sudden ballooned into at least 7-on-7 is what it looks like. Because the Hurt Syndicate showed up on Wednesday to come to Jericho's aid when he was being beaten down by Ricochet and GOA. So you would assume Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, they're going to be a part of this. So we're looking potentially at a team with Chris Jericho, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and Jack Perry. Against Ricochet, Toa Leona, Bishop Khan, Mark Davis, and then what, 4 more people? This is going to be an absolute mess, is what this is going to be, especially me taking notes watching that pay-per-view. This is going to be an absolute mess. They've also added a 4-way to the Double or Nothing card for the AEW Women's World title. It'll be Tekla defending against Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander, and Hikaru Shida. Statlander and Shida, they have their own story going on. Shida feels like she's on the verge of a heel turn. Hard for me to imagine her winning the belt. I would not be taking that belt away from Tekla right now, but something will probably go down with her and Statlander, I would imagine, in that match, since they have been telling that story. Something's going to happen between Speedball and Kevin Knight, too. It just feels to me, I don't know about a Speedball heel turn, but actually, you know what? It feels more like a Kevin Knight heel turn may be coming more than Speedball. Something's definitely going down with those two in the not too distant future. There's something going on there. And the men's and women's brackets for this year's Owen Hart Foundation tournaments will be announced this Wednesday on Dynamite. And so let's see if my idea is correct. And the brackets set up a potential Jon Moxley, Will Ospreay final on the men's side, because that's where I feel like this is headed.